If you are looking for clear as day evidence that Donald Trump is a drag on your election prospects, look no further than our neighbor to the north. Canada's election is being held today, and Trump decided to weigh in. Now, Trump is the leader of our Republican Party, our Conservative Party, and there are obvious links between our Conservative Party and other countries' Conservative parties, which means that Donald Trump's message, which I'm about to read, can have major implications on the leader of Canada's Conservative Party, Pierre Poilievre. Trump took to Social, writing, "Good luck to the great people of Canada. Elect the man who has the strength and wisdom to cut your taxes in half, increase your military power for free to the highest levels in the world, have your car, steel, aluminum, lumber, energy, and all other businesses quadruple in size with zero tariffs or taxes if Canada becomes the cherished 51st state of the United States of America. No more artificially drawn line from many years ago. Look how beautiful this landmass would be. Free access with no border, all positives with no negatives. It was meant to be. America can no longer subsidize Canada with the hundreds of billions of dollars a year that we have been spending in the past. It makes no sense unless Canada is a state." And then, obviously sensing the major implications here for him, Poilievre decided to respond just over an hour later, and he didn't reciprocate the niceties. President Trump, stay out of our election. The only people who will decide the future of Canada are Canadians at the ballot box. Canada will always be proud, sovereign, and independent, and we will never be the 51st state. Today, Canadians can vote for change so that we can strengthen our country, stand on our own 2 feet, and stand up to America from a position of strength. And the reality is that Poilievre has all the reason in the world to be unwilling to accept Donald Trump's overtures, and that's because Trump is likely unilaterally responsible for the fact that Poilievre may very well lose this election. Take a look at this chart. This is Canada's voting intention. For years, the Conservative Party, the blue line, had a strong edge over the Liberal Party, the red line. By the beginning of 2025, it looked like a foregone conclusion that Justin Trudeau's Liberal Party would lose the upcoming election. And then Donald Trump decided to launch his trade war and threaten to annex Canada as the 51st state. And suddenly, the party that seems more closely aligned with Trump's Republican Party gets utterly gutted in the polls. Here's a closer look showing the fact that Liberals now have an 88% chance of winning a majority in Parliament, all thanks to the anchor around their necks that is Donald Trump. In fact, if you had any doubt about the extent to which Trump has been a drag on Poilievre's election prospects, this is what the last few months have looked like as Poilievre has tried to campaign.
Canada was meant to be the 51st state because we subsidize Canada by $200 billion a year. A lot of people in Canada are liking becoming our beautiful, cherished 51st state. Without us, Canada can't make it. You know, Canada relies on us 95%. We rely on them 4%. Big difference. And I say Canada should be our 51st state. There's no tariffs, no nothing.
And because Trump said it, now the rest of his administration has had to toe the same ridiculous line.
If I may, President Trump's tone when it comes to Canada-U.S. relations, Canadians have noticed it's shifted a bit in the past few weeks. Ever since the election campaign started, he stopped talking about Canada becoming the 51st state, at least publicly. I'm wondering if that's on purpose and why.
I would reject the president's position on Canada has shifted. Perhaps he just hasn't been asked about Canada by questions from this group in the Oval Office, but they see him almost every day. But the president still maintains his position on Canada. The United States has been subsidizing Canada's national defense, and he believes that Canadians would benefit greatly from becoming the 51st state of the United States of America.
Have you taken any steps to carry out President Trump's plans, as he has said he would like to annex Canada? Have you taken any steps in that direction?
No, I think what the president has said, and he has said this repeatedly, is he was told by the previous prime minister that Canada could not survive without unfair trade with the United States. At which point he asked, well, if you can't survive as a nation without treating us unfairly in trade, then you should become a state. That's what he said. They'll have their elections this week. They're going to have a new leader, and we'll deal with a new leadership of Canada. There are many things we work with cooperatively on Canada on, but we actually don't like the way they've treated us when it comes to trade. And the president has made that point when he responded to the previous prime minister in regards to this.
So does the U.S. still want to make Canada the 51st state?
I think the president has stated repeatedly he thinks Canada would be better off as a state.
Which of course forced Poilievre to have to field questions like this just days before the election.
And you said that President Trump respected Canada's sovereignty both privately and in his public conversations.
He did.
Were you being truthful?
He absolutely did. He absolutely did. Look, the president has certain things in his mind that he reverts back to all the time. But treated me as the prime minister, not as something else. I'm not even going to say the word he used to use about my predecessor. Treated me as the prime minister. We had discussions as sovereign nations. We agreed as sovereign nations that these negotiations will begin after the election on Monday. And that is how it was reported back, and that's absolutely accurate. So that's the treatment. Now, look, the president says lots of things, but the essence of the discussion and where we moved the conversation to was exactly what I said. Treated us with respect as a sovereign nation. We have these negotiations coming, and that's, just to be clear, that is what's at stake. Both things are true. The desire of the Americans and the president to own us, those aren't just words, that's a desire. And the ability of Canada to stand strong, build our own, control our destiny, and in that context, as a sovereign nation, have those discussions.
Yeah. Not great when your closing message is being forced to assure your country that your party won't literally allow your own country to be annexed by an ideologically aligned US Republican Party. Truly one of life's great mysteries how the Conservatives have been put in such a dire position. In fact, it's not just Canada where Trump has proven himself a liability. Since Trump took office here, where he demanded total fealty from his party and then went on to tank the stock market, economy, 401ks, consumer confidence, and surge costs, now the rest of his own party is forced to bear the political burden here in the United States. And the electoral consequences have been beyond apparent. Just a few weeks ago, the two Republican candidates in Florida's special elections underperformed by 16 points and 22 points from the party's 2024 margin. In Wisconsin, liberal Supreme Court Justice nominee Susan Crawford overperformed the 2024 presidential election contest by 11 points in a 50-50 swing state en route to her victory in that race. In Pennsylvania, Democrats overperformed by 15 points and 17 points in two state legislative seats en route to victories there, one of which solidified Democratic control of the Pennsylvania State House, and the other of which flipped a seat from red to blue. Across the United States, of the 16 races held since Election Day, Democrats are seeing an 11.5% swing to the left, with two of those races seeing Democrats flip seats formerly held by Republicans. According to the Strength in Numbers newsletter from data scientist Elliot Morris, now, thanks to the Down Ballots data archives, we can compare the average swing in special elections in 2025 to the average swing in special elections held in 2017. There were 67 state legislative special elections held in 2017 for the 2018 midterm cycle, according to their tracking. In those, Democratic candidates beat Hillary Clinton's margin versus Trump in 2016 by 11 points. So an 11-point swing for Democrats in 2017 and 10 points for 2025 so far. 10 is not so different from 11. In other words, Pierre Poilievre has company. The lesson here is abundantly clear. Align yourself with Donald Trump and be forced to suffer the political consequences. Or, put a little less delicately, fuck around, find out. Before you go, if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more and support independent media, please subscribe to this channel. The subscribe button will be right here on the screen. But second, the reality is that we are now in a political environment where this administration can lean on any of the social media platforms to suppress certain voices if they don't like critical coverage. That means my longevity here is in the hands of a few tech billionaires who are already making it clear that they are willing to cater to this administration. To that end, signing up for my newsletter is a way for me to reach you directly if that ever becomes necessary. I'll put the link right here on the screen as well, so please sign up. It's free, but there's also an option to do a paid subscription if you'd like to support me and my team. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching.